You're listening to BioTalk with Rich Bendis, the only podcast focused on the biohealth capital region. Each episode, we'll talk to leaders in the industry to break down the biggest topics happening today in biohealth.
Hi, this is Rich Bendis, your host for BioTalk. Today we have somewhat of a surprise for our listeners. I generally look around the world to see how many people are using the word biohealth, which we created about 15 years ago. And as I was finding some things around biohealth, I saw something linked to Las Vegas, and I said, what the heck is there with biohealth in Las Vegas? And then I saw a $10 million innovation challenge associated with biohealth in Las Vegas. And I said, wow, they got something going on there. We reached out to see who we could talk to find out about this challenge, as well as other things that are going on within the Las Vegas region. But also, we have one of our associates, Kelly Murphy, who lives in Las Vegas, so that we have a direct tie to the Las Vegas region with a BHI associate that lives right in that city. We have three people to talk about biohealth within the Las Vegas area and the state of Nevada. We have Councilman Brian Knudsen. We have Jamie Schwartz, Director of Industry and Business Engagement at UNLV. And we have Vance Farrow, who's the Healthcare Industry Specialist for the Nevada Governor's Office of Economic Development. Everybody's wondering how we're going to get three people talking at one time, but we're going to sort of work through this process so we know by the end of this hour a lot more about what's going on in biohealth in the Las Vegas area. But we're going to start first. Rather than me do an introduction and read their bios and resumes, we're going to let each of them do a little self-introduction about what their role is and how they got involved in this industry, this biohealth industry, or their relationship to it. And why don't we start with Councilman Brian Knudsen?
I very much appreciate the opportunity to be here. I have a roundabout way of being in the biohealth field. My first point of entry was I had a very sick kid here in Las Vegas. After a month of spending nights in our public hospital, listening to doctors talk about the lack of infrastructure here, my son's doing well now, but I was fortunate enough to win an election, and I represent the medical district within Las Vegas, and decided that using the bully pulpit of the city of Las Vegas, I can bring some greater attention to the lack of infrastructure here in Nevada. Great doctors, great healthcare professionals, but they will tell you we don't have the infrastructure to support greater healthcare and greater access to healthcare. The second piece to my puzzle was I approved a lease. As a city councilman, we approve lease agreements all the time. We approved a lease with a UNLV professor who had created some BioHealth Innovation markers and needed additional lab space. So we leased out one of our buildings for him. He kind of came back to me and said, if Vegas had more labs, you would have a lot more funding coming in from the federal government. You'd have a lot more researchers here because it's a prime area to invest in research. That is how I'm in the biohealth space. I talk quite a bit about healthcare, mental health care, and the opportunities for biohealth within Southern Nevada.
Thank you, Brian. And generally, if it's going to work within any region, you have to have a private-public partnership that involves academia, government, industry, and local government as well as statewide government. So let's talk a little bit about the academic role here with Jamie Schwartz.
Well, in my role here at UNLV, I get to lead initiatives that really bridge the academic research that we do with industry needs. We also spin out new innovations that come from campus. So we encourage a lot of that activity through different tech transfer activity here. And we're looking to affect regional growth. I'm also currently serving as the president of the board for BioTech Vegas. And I've spent many years as an entrepreneur. And nearly 25 years ago, we launched what eventually became one of the largest clinical trial management companies in the Southwest U.S. We built a business valuation firm after that. I've did a lot of consulting, and through line has really been taking complex work and complex partnerships and trying to turn those into outcomes that mean something, that make a difference, and that are profitable, and a lot of consensus building. That's really what I intend to bring to the challenge of growing biotech and health innovation here in Southern Nevada. I'm happy to be in this role, to be in the seat to get to do so.
Thank you, Jamie. It's good to have that entrepreneurial background, which also is a very valuable asset to have at the table. Last but not least, Vance Farrow, basically with the Governor's Office of Economic Development and the Healthcare Industry Specialist. Vance, a little bit about your background.
Sure thing. Thank you. So I came to go at, as we call it, as it was being created a little over 13 years ago. Came from Washington, D.C., where I was chief of cancer and chronic disease for the District of Columbia. And I was literally told the thing that sold me to the position was they said, Vance, you can come out here, you can paint your own Picasso in the healthcare space. We know we've got needs statewide, and we want somebody that's not biased or can come and look at it from a fresh vantage point, dig into the community with regard to creating stakeholder groups and partnerships, and help guide us with the things that we need and help move the needle. And I can say it has been a fabulous ride. I get to work with wonderful people such as the two here and many other stakeholders that really approach this from a sleeves rolled up purpose. And we really dig in to move the needle. We have a lot of programs, supportive programs. We've made a lot of state investments as well as convened a lot of groups to move the needle in a positive way. And so it's been a wonderful ride. A lot of that is only achieved by having wonderful people to work with. So it's been really incredible thus far.
Well, you must enjoy it because it's 13 years later and you're still there, Vance.
That is correct. 13 and counting.
Let's talk a little bit about what attracted me to the three of you and to Las Vegas, and that's really reading about a $10 million BioHealth Innovation Challenge. You generally don't see these types of challenges emerging in many areas of the country, and especially at that dollar value. Brian, why don't you talk a little bit about the evolution of this challenge and how it works and how people around the United States might be able to enter or take advantage of this competition?
You bet. The interesting part about it for me is during COVID, there's an enormous amount of funding coming in through the state of Nevada. I worked with our previous governor on an investment of about $75 million into our medical district, and it was really focused in on improving the infrastructure for healthcare professionals to be successful, lab space being one of those. I don't think that we were moving fast enough. I'm actually going to a groundbreaking of a public lab this afternoon that'll be built in the medical district, but I recognized it wasn't enough and wasn't meeting the demand of some of the scientists and researchers here in Southern Nevada. And so I was able to have the city allocate $10 million out of our redevelopment agency. It's really focused in on economic development in the downtown core. And with that $10 million, we partnered with a company called Carrot. They developed not only a national competition, but an international competition that requires interdisciplinary teams anywhere from within Nevada or anywhere in the world to develop pretty comprehensive proposals about how they could develop a biohealth incubator lab space in Nevada, given the fact that the city of Las Vegas is putting up $10 million, given the fact that it's a low tax state, no income tax, that it's pretty good weather, and you have a pretty diverse group of people that live in the state. It's prime for research. And we're also have been approached multiple times by the National Institutes of Health for investment in Nevada for those reasons. This $10 million competition is going now, and we encourage everybody to go to biohealthinnovationchallenge.org and look at how you can propose to come here in Nevada and partner with the city of Las Vegas.
I have a few questions which I'll ask and anybody can answer, and that's who's eligible to apply? And basically, what is the primary criteria that you're looking at in the decision-making process for what a winner would look like?
The best way to talk about that is to encourage people to go to biohealthinnovationchallenge.org. Essentially, we're going to ask that you have $20 million in capital so that we can verify that you're a real organized organization, that you have education partners that are part of your proposal, and that when you do submit, you're going to go through a pretty elaborate judging process. We have a slate of about 25 judges that range from IP lawyers to CEOs of hospitals to university presidents who are going to do an initial scoring and evaluate proposals based on the criteria set forth, which is, are you going to be a good fit for Las Vegas? Are you a good fit for Nevada? Do you create jobs? Do you help improve outcomes for health? Those judges will narrow down to select 3 to 5 proposals, and then we'll have an additional group of judges with equal amounts of credentials who can evaluate what is in the best interest of the city of Las Vegas. And ultimately, that proposal will come to the Las Vegas City Council for us to allocate that $10 million and begin what I hope will be a much longer standing partnership.
Last 2 questions, and then we'll move on. What's the deadline for submitting an application, and when is it that you would anticipate that a winner would be selected?
If you go on, I'm going to type it in as we're talking here, because if you go onto the website right now, it's going to say there are 94 days left for you to submit your initial proposal. And that is really letting us know that you're interested. And then you'll see what that criteria is to apply. So in the next 3 months, we're going to have our initial set of proposals. I can tell you we already have proposals from pretty renowned organizations around the country. Another 94 days, we'll see how many more proposals come in. And then I anticipate we'll be making that award sometime this time next year.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to some other initiatives that there are going on within the Las Vegas region in the biohealth area. Jamie, talk a little bit about this venture fund, Desert Forge, that's been created, and this BioTech Vegas that you mentioned earlier.
It's really exciting for the community that we now first university affiliated venture fund. We have an excellent team heading it up. They're actually able to attract former UNLV president Len Jessup to come and head up the fund for us. Desert Forge Fund 1 will provide $100,000 to $1 million in investments. It's pre-seed, Series A startups that are in Nevada. One of the main purposes of it is to keep growing companies in the state. It's a fund that's interested in a variety of deals, and it has expressed a real interest in biotechnology and medical devices. And we do see some initial investments into the bio and life sciences sector. So I'm really happy to see that. And Desert Forge is actually a continuation of a momentum that's been building, especially over the last 5-6 years. And just as Councilman Knudsen was referencing, we did see some money come in during that COVID period. And the state did some really smart things, particularly with the SSBCI funds that came through. We have the 1864 Fund, which is a Nevada-based venture fund. Seed rounds, 500,000 to 2.5 million, checks between 150,000 to 500,000, depending on your valuation. We have Battleborn Ventures, which is Nevada's state venture capital program. And that's already had 5 exits. It's funded through the SSBCI program, and the mandate is determined by the Treasury's approved application, the SSBCI application. Their investments are in startups with Nevada business license and Nevada address. And their deals, I believe, are between 200,000 to 20 million in total size. And they'll invest up to half of your total round, just depending on the size of the company. So there are other resources as well. One of the great things that this state has done is recognize that investing in early sector growth will help us to achieve some of the diversification goals that we have and making this particular sector more robust. And they're supporting it through funding, which is one of the things we really did lack. And now we are coming with some real resources, which is exciting.
I love how seemingly organically these things came to be, and they're built on the shoulders of other programs that have been put in place for several years. As you look at things that were once was called the Knowledge Fund, which brought about the idea to tech and spin off companies at the university level and make investments in those companies to help them grow and expand. And you also had the capital investment of companies that were coming into Nevada as a sort of incentive that would allow for the convening of partnerships with higher education to create the opportunity for more companies to spin off and commercialize. Now that we have these additional funds that are coming into place because times have changed, the approach has changed, the sectors are starting to change a little bit, different stakeholder groups, different partnerships coming together, and you need to have new arrows in the quiver for investment. And so we're really happy to see these new toys to play with.
That's pretty exciting. And Jamie, you mentioned BioTech Vegas, but then you call this the BioHealth Innovation Competition. So biotech is a little narrower definition. BioHealth tends to be more broad. When you talk about investing in biotech or biohealth, what type of sectors or technologies are included in that definition?
So when we talk about BioTech Vegas, we could have named it Bio and Tech Vegas, and we probably could have even expanded it to Nevada because we really are trying to blend the ecosystems between Northern Nevada and Southern Nevada, where we have different strengths. Northern Nevada has had a medical school that's deep in clinical trials and research and development for a little bit longer than UNLV has, though we are catching up as quick as we can down here. BioTech Vegas, we don't want to get caught up too much in the name, but it is the organization that is bringing together the ecosystem from a public perspective, private perspective, our municipal representatives. We have the ambassadors really across the region. One of the things about Las Vegas and our whole region here is that it's been siloed in multiple industries, but the healthcare and life sciences industry, very siloed. And we want to try to make our activity more efficient. And the way we can do that is by communicating, getting to know each other. And one of the real purposes in quickly trying to pull this group together is thinking about the BioHealth Innovation Challenge. Whatever company that comes here and anchors here, we all want to be prepared to be participative, to be supportive and collaborative with that organization so that we can maximize what they can do here in our community. And something really important was convening and building consensus amongst all of our stakeholders here. And that's what the BioTech Vegas group is.
Thank you. Well, you mentioned it could be a different name, but you could also have BioHealth Vegas or BioHealth Nevada and continue to get this brand going across the country. We could develop a whole network of biohealth entities. We'd be glad to partner with you on that. And Vance, I know you're anxious to add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple of quick things. So, as Jamie said, I mean, it's literally just creating a comprehensive resource hub for companies, key stakeholders in the space that, as she said, are siloed in their own labs, siloed in their own brick and mortar four wall company space, and don't get to come together to exchange ideas on the sector itself, identify key things that we can do as a collective to help grow that subsector, and then marry that with that investment such that we can do that. And again, as Jamie said, we got folks at the table representing the community at large, academia, innovative leaders, champions in the space. We've had some success going for several years to the National Bio Conference. We're also hosting the Association of University Research Parks conference next month. And so we want to just continue to really gain on the momentum that we've been seeing in the space and max it out to the best that we can.
Thank you for that, Vance. But Jamie mentioned silos. You're talking a little bit about all the different breaking down those walls and those barriers. Talk a little bit about how you have this collaboration between local government, state government, local agencies, and all the other critical elements to a private-public partnership working, Vance.
I tell people all the time, I liken my job to being a bumblebee in a field of flowers, where I get to just buzz around and go to all the attractive colors and see all the cool things that are going on. The information that you get and all of the different components that people share with you. And it's like, wait a minute. As I'm gaining all this information, I recognize, as I'm sure all my other partners recognize, that there are things that if just every other person knew about what certain people were doing or what they needed or what their pain points are, that collectively we could come up with some solutions. Your neighbor might have the example right in their lab or right on the verge of coming up with that answer. So being able to convene a space where folks can have that Switzerland opportunity and share and exchange. I tell you one thing, we used to have a coming together of folks. It was called the Sector Council. Those were discontinued a while back. And this is a way of reinvigorating that concept and bringing in those sector players and those corporate, nonprofit, whomever, and having that larger conversation where we can all put our cards on the table, as it were, and be a part of a growing ecosystem and have a voice in how best to make that come to life.
I was just thinking to myself, I kind of want to go back to the point of when I was a parent in the hospital with a kid, the infrastructure in Nevada is not currently able to support what other cities and states have around the country. So this is a very competitive process to make sure that we have greater access to healthcare in the city of Las Vegas. I love the fact that we have a very diverse state. So we have Northern Nevada, we have Southern Nevada. Sometimes we kind of fight with each other about who's bigger and better. I represent Las Vegas. We're the 19th largest city in the country. It's great to have a bunch of collaborations, but this is a very territorial, very competitive process to say, we want you here in the city of Las Vegas. So if you're thinking about growing your industry, growing your business, growing your ideas, Las Vegas is ready to partner with you. And we'd love to bring along Northern Nevadans as well. This is a very competitive process to bring greater access to medicine and healthcare and research in the heart of the downtown of Las Vegas. And we are a relatively young state and we're ready to grow.
And I just think that it's important to note that this is a very connected city and community to itself. And what I mean by that is every representative, Councilman Knudsen, the governor's office are all receptive to hearing from their constituents. I can reach the governor's office. My colleagues can reach the governor's office. They can reach us. Everything is just very open here, and we're free and very generous with our introductions and trying to build collaborative engagement here. My understanding, and of course, I'm born and raised here in Las Vegas, and so I don't have the exposure, but what I hear from others that relocate here from elsewhere is that one of the best things about doing business here is how easy it is to connect and get their needs met. If they have a problem, if they need to have something around zoning, to some kind of a tax abatement, to building a collaborative workforce development program and workforce training. Everybody is literally one phone call away and willing to at least have the conversation and figure out, does it make sense to do this together? And I'm not sure that exists everywhere, but I think it's a huge advantage for our community.
I can tell you it doesn't exist everywhere. Las Vegas, Nevada is very unique in the fact that if you want to change the outcomes, dig in, roll up your sleeves, and your elected officials will be right there with you. So my name's Brian Knudsen. If you want to reach out to the second in charge in the city of Las Vegas, call me, email me, because we're ready to go.
And Vance is dying to add on.
Brian had glossed over the Las Vegas Medical District earlier, but I just want to echo that the city of Las Vegas has been a wonderful, wonderful stakeholder, not just in words, but in deeds and in action. To put a feather in the cap of UNLV, one of the major anchors of this medical district is the fairly new UNLV Kerkorian School of Medicine that is anchored within that Las Vegas Medical District. We've also got our University Medical Center, which is county-run hospital, and the partnership that is just organically there. But that downtown strip is going to be a new renaissance in biolife sciences and, to Brian's point, the answer to what we have been lacking. And this competition that he also spoke to is just something that's going to help propel us into that future. And we are super excited about it.
Brian, you had something to add to that.
Just one quick point is that the city's invested about $100 million into the infrastructure around the medical district. That $100 million have leveraged about $500 million in private investment. It's not a blank slate, but with regards to biohealth research, we're pretty open to what next steps look like. And we'd love for those groups around the country or the world or within Nevada to tell us what those next steps look like.
Sounds like real money and real commitment, but you were talking about collaboration, communication, commitment. I guess the key is that to show that it's working, we have three people representing three different constituencies on this podcast, all talking together and talking the same language. So that's extremely important. You basically have to communicate the same message so it's consistent to the people you're trying to market what you're trying to sell in the city of Las Vegas. And I think that's coming across strongly with the three of you on this podcast. Let's talk a little bit about one of the most important elements related to any ecosystem, and it's workforce and having availability of talent. Vance, I think you were going to start off on this. Let's talk a little bit about the workforce that's available there, what kind of programs there are that are supportive for people that are there or people you're trying to attract with workforce programs, plus also the workforce that's coming out of the academic institutions and some of the programs they have. So you can start it off, and I'm sure that Jamie and Brian have something to add to that.
This is something that I am most proud of. I have never been anywhere where I have seen the ability to create programs in workforce like it happens here in Nevada. For instance, we've had companies come in and do a deal to expand into the Nevada marketplace. One of the first phone calls that I'll make is to an NSHE representative, and NSHE is the Nevada System of Higher Education, where we literally will have a conversation about what this company needs, where they can literally dictate and say, we need folks that are versed in X, Y, and Z. And to the extent that they may have a curriculum that is exactly what they're needing, or it might be lacking in just a few critical areas, we're able to create a legitimate public-private partnership where potentially that science mind or that advisor from that company can be a part of the development of an enhancement to that curriculum, where they can be assured that they're going to have exactly the kinds of trained workforce that they're going to need to hire down the line, whether that's at the community college level for a certification or even at the university level if it's part of a degree program. And we've got funding to help make sure that that can happen in a way where it doesn't fall on the shoulders of the university, provided there's, of course, jobs on the other end of it. And I'm speaking specifically to our what's called our WIN program, which is Workforce Innovations for a New Nevada, where we will invest state funds into the development of academic programs, again, provided that jobs are waiting on the end of that journey. And so we will take on the financial burden of making sure that that pathway is wide enough for folks to be able to walk through that are committed to that specialty area. And then, of course, those employers stand ready to employ those folks that matriculate through those programs.
Great. Thank you. Jamie, what about from an academic standpoint on workforce?
In this particular space, we do have quite a few organizations out here, like Vance was saying, from Foro to Roseman in the private space to Nevada State and UNLV. We have our community colleges that have a great focus on healthcare, bio. And then we have some really unique workforce development programs that are connected to industry, because after all, they've got to be really relevant to industry. So we welcome them in to co-develop some co-curriculums as they are getting ready to graduate in the senior year. We have several companies that build in some of their actual platform training and knowledge into that last semester, so students are coming out trained. We have a program out here that's called the Step Up and Startup program, which was a great success, matching our interns, more graduate students and perhaps seniors in engineering and the hard sciences, with companies. And the state was subsidizing through a special fund that had been created the wages of those interns for these companies. And particularly, this was helpful for startups and high growth companies. They would have a couple of interns forming teams and doing really important foundational work to get the companies moving. That we expect to continue on with that program. Around the sciences, really building out some interdisciplinary programs. I work with our leading brain health scientist, Dr. Jeff Cummings, on a really interesting program that tries to attract our business students and students from other disciplines that are valuable to understanding the startup process, from conception to whether they're developing a molecule or whether they're developing a device, what that looks like to get it from those early stages all the way out to successful company. And that it does take students that are not just scientists and science trained, but bring the other disciplines to bear. So those are some focuses I know that we have to try to build a more ready to deploy workforce coming out of the university.
We initiated a study around what are the opportunities in healthcare. There are a number of opportunities in healthcare here. Some of our health outcomes are some of the worst in the country. If you look at the physicians per capita by specialty, we have some of the greatest gaps as it relates to what we need in pretty much every single specialty. That could be something that someone would look at that and say, that's daunting, that's challenging, it's overwhelming to look at how much need is in Nevada. I choose to look at it as an opportunity. So Nevada can change on a dime. We became the sports capital of the world a few years ago. We're now becoming the live entertainment capital of the world. We just started doing that. I think healthcare and mental health care in particular, there's enormous opportunities for people who are outside of our state looking in to say that we're significantly deficient in orthopedic surgeons, but yet we're the sports capital of the world. This would be a good opportunity to come in and create a cottage industry related to sports medicine. We're open to that because we need to grow up. We're one of the youngest states in the country, one of the most underdeveloped, and it's time for us to evolve. And we would love outside groups to help us do that.
Yeah, I think that's something we're going to touch on a little bit later, is basically niches. In the biohealth industry, you can't be all things to all people. So you have to build around your strengths that you know that you can actually become at least a regional leader, if not a national or international leader in certain areas. You sort of touch on that. We're going to talk a little bit more after Vance adds on a little bit to what you just said, Brian.
Brian hit it right on the head. One of the things we're gearing up right now for is an 8th round of graduate medical education investment. Since I've been at GoEd, we've had 7 rounds, with the 8th ramping up just now. Investment in expanding graduate medical education residency programs throughout primary care and some specialty areas in Nevada. And we're again going to invest another $18-ish million in creating more residency slots. I also want to dig deeper into it because I know, as we all know, that nursing is the backbone of primary care in the healthcare space. And so we've been very advanced in how we approach widening the bottleneck for nursing. And one of the things that we've done, which was pretty innovative, is to capture the clinical nurses that do not have a teaching credential and create a boot camp of sorts where those nurses can gain that teaching credential and at least be a part of widening the bottleneck through the registered nurse level. We thought that was something that could help to grow that number in the workforce, and we will continue to do that. I mean, the population is obviously continuously growing, so it's hard to surpass, to Brian's point, the gap that we have, but creating innovative ways to grow that population is something we'll continue to endeavor to do.
For our BioTalk listeners, we have 3 partners in Las Vegas who are working together in the biohealth industry and the BioHealth Innovation Challenge, which we'll close this podcast with to remind everybody about again. But we have Councilman Brian Knudsen, Jamie Schwartz, Director of Industry and Business Engagement at UNLV, and Vance Farrow, Healthcare Industry Specialist for the Nevada Governor's Office of Economic Development. And you've been hearing through all 3 of them throughout this podcast. But let's talk a little bit briefly. I mentioned you can't be all things to all people, but if you had to identify 3 to 5 areas that Las Vegas has an opportunity to win at, to be a leader at, whether it's regionally, statewide, Southwest, wherever it might be, I'd like to hear the opinions from all 3 of you of where you think you guys excel today. And that's a good basis to build upon for the future, not limiting yourself to know that there's other areas which you can add to that in the future. But what's the starting point for Las Vegas right now in the biohealth industry? And why don't we start with Brian?
It's hard to answer that because as a City of Las Vegas representative, my job is to make sure that we have people who make decent wages supporting our small businesses. So this is an economic opportunity. I think from the outside looking in, you can see an aging population with a lack of resources to support them. So if we're looking at brain health, if we're looking at orthopedic health, we see a sports industry town that really just became a sports industry town overnight. A number of youth sports teams with orthopedic injuries. I think that would be a very good opportunity for groups out there that are looking at orthopedics. I think that there's a growing mental health challenge that we have here in Southern Nevada, which is true across the country. I think one of the opportunities from our population perspective is that we're probably the most diverse population in the country, and we're concentrated in a pretty small area. And again, that opportunity to come into a state and immediately have access to your elected officials to change laws, to create new systems, to create new funding sources, those opportunities exist here like no other. From the city of Las Vegas, from every other municipality, from the county to the state, if you come into this town, you're going to be able to access those people, present your ideas, and if you can work with us, the state will open up for you.
Thank you. When you're talking about sports happening overnight, you're really referring to NFL franchise, NHL franchise, WNBA. I mean, all of this is all within the last 10 years?
The last 5 years.
Last 5 years.
We have the NHL championship a couple of years ago. We just won the WNBA championship, and I believe they just started construction on the new Las Vegas A's stadium. I don't think basketball is that far off either.
I'm sure it will be soon. Vance or Jamie, either of you want to talk a little bit about industry strengths or niches?
I think there's a few key things, and picking up on the councilman's remarks about the brain health specialty here, we do have a really remarkable strength, both between the Cleveland Clinic having their Lou Ruvo Center downtown right there next to the Las Vegas Medical District, and they're expanding their work, particularly in brain health and brain health research around Alzheimer's, dementia, brain scans, and looking at traumatic brain injury with respect to sports and athletic injuries. That's a real focus area. So we see some blending between the expertise in brain health that we have here and the sports performance world. In addition to Cleveland Clinic, the university, UNLV, has got the Chambers Grundy Center for Transformative Neuroscience. And we have Drs. Jeff Cummings and Dr. Jeff Kinney, among other really esteemed researchers. It's an outstanding institute on our campus. We do really tremendous work there, and they're both very highly regarded in their fields and doing really innovative, forward-thinking research and work. So That's a real strength for us. We also have at UNLV the Sports Innovation Institute, where we focus on sports performance, human performance. This is a very dry, arid, hot climate. And so, human performance in this particular climate is also a specialty research area of ours. And then, like I was just mentioning, we've crossed over a lot of the sports research with our brain health team, finding all sorts of interesting outcomes there. And then the last thing I'll point out, although I could go on with several more because we do have a lot of really sneaky areas of excellence that people don't realize here in Las Vegas, but one that will make sense as soon as I say it is public health. Las Vegas is a city that welcomes visitors from all over the world. We at any time have got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people here from anywhere across the globe. And they bring with them all sorts of other travelers, their virus and their bacteria and so on. And we can learn a lot from that. We also learn a lot through the wastewater biosurveillance lab. We've just opened up a center for water intelligence and community health. Dr. Edwin O, he's also a highly regarded scientist that we have on staff at UNLV. We find a lot of interest in collaborating with our teams and our labs working in those spaces, being such a high tourist destination. And we've got great infrastructure set up, taking the samples from the airport on down the strip and so on. So it's easy to work with us in those areas. Our public health department is ready to rock with those things. So I would say those are the strengths that I talk about a lot when I go out into the world.
Yeah, it sounds like there's 3 or 4 areas if someone wants to apply for the BioHealth Innovation Challenge and they had a strength in one of those 3 or 4 and you could add value to one of them, they'd have a good chance of at least being a finalist next year.
And I think we should say that we all stand ready. And UNLV, I can obviously speak for, but I talk to so many of my colleagues to collaborate and be a support network and system for whoever is the winner of that challenge. We want to be collaborators with them and help them be successful here.
That's sort of where we started this conversation, but right now we've covered a lot of ground in a short period of time. And I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to say something that we haven't covered or how you would like to resell Las Vegas in each of your closing remarks here. So let me start with Councilman Brian Knudsen. Brian, anything we didn't talk about you feel is worthy to bring up or anything you want to reemphasize?
Jamie did a great job of selling UNLV. I wholeheartedly support everything UNLV is doing. And as someone who's lived here for 20 years now, this is a great state to come and make a legacy. It's a great state to come in and put your fingerprints on something and go to bed at night knowing that you built something that didn't exist before. And partnering with our local universities and college institutions and the K-12 system and the municipal government, that is what Nevada represents, is your opportunity to build something from scratch or plug in and make it better than what it is right now. It's really that kind of state.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things about an emerging ecosystem versus a mature ecosystem. You have a blank canvas and you can actually add to that canvas almost every day as the dynamics change based on what's going on within your region. Vance Farrow, healthcare industry specialist for the Nevada Governor's Office of Economic Development. Vance, any closing comments or things that we didn't talk about that you'd like to?
I'm going to use my 50,000-foot vantage point and talk about the fact that every time we go places or folks come here, they always say, typically, I didn't know that was here. Nevada is the only state in the country where we actually have a closed lithium ecosystem. Why is that important? Well, it might not necessarily be important to a lot of folks, but it might be important to a key research and development company that's in the lithium space that can come into Nevada, and from the mining of lithium from the ground to the manufacturing and export and purposing of that element in a variety of uses to it being recaptured and repurposed, Nevada's the only place you need to go to consider doing anything along that supply chain of lithium. That's something that could be a feather in the cap of a company that's interested in being in the space. We didn't mention Zero Labs, but I think Zero Labs is a key component of something that is very key to what we do. It's a premier accelerator program. It's based in Las Vegas. It creates a space for startup-minded folks, businesses to come together with their business models, to have them refined, connect with mentors, access strategic partners to accelerate growth. We've had about 5 or 6 cohorts, I think, to date. and it's still growing strong, and it's something that we heavily invest in. And so it's yet one more thing that we feel we can bring to an emerging market in Las Vegas and help these companies grow. You literally are one phone call away from being in front of the person that you need in order to help make change in whatever it is that you're trying to do. We are very accessible. We are in the community. You can't miss us at events because we're everywhere. I say the three of us, but I expand that to the 50 of us that come together generally in the space. And once you get a hold of one, you're in the lattice work. And so we're just trying to be as helpful and as transparent to help these companies grow as we can.
Thank you, Vance. Access is critical to existing as well as potential new partners. But you almost came up with, or maybe you already have this marketing campaign, and that's, I didn't know about this about Las Vegas, or did you know about this about Las Vegas? It sounds like a great marketing campaign. If it doesn't exist, it's something you could create. We'll close right now with Jamie Schwartz, who's Director of Industry and Business Engagement at UNLV. Jamie, closing comments.
I hope from the conversation today that it's evident that there is a lot of opportunity in Las Vegas. There is a lot of excitement and enthusiasm and willingness to do business, whether it's from the private sector who are opening their arms to collaborate, or from state government or the university. We're just really excited to see who's wanting to come do business with us. One of the things that I haven't mentioned yet, and so I figure I should because it's important, is that we also have got some key land opportunities. And I know that we want to build the $10 million challenge and lots of the other things that are a priority to the city down in the Las Vegas Medical District. But beyond that, and as we look to the future and other growth, there's some key parcels and some key areas that are exciting to know about. UNLV has got a 122-acre research and technology park. That's actually where my office is here. And that's the other hat that I wear, is I get to manage the property here that we're developing. We are soon to break ground on Nevada's first standalone children's hospital here at the Research and Tech Park. And so there will be a lot of opportunity for adjacent development and collaboration there. Beyond this development, the university has 2,000 acres up in North Las Vegas, which is just an adjacent suburb here. And the city of North Las Vegas has 3,000 acres. We are about to begin the process of master planning that, and we're certainly going to want to consider companies that want to come be employers in our community and that want to develop interesting projects as part of those developments. Nevada State University has got roughly 400 acres that it is developing that will have economic development focus, but they'd love to have something that's related to BioHealth Innovation there. And the other one that I know about is Roseman University, which is a private institution here. They're developing a little over 60 acres of a campus, and they have 25,000 square feet of lab space. We have a few startups that have gone over there. It's really beautiful space, and you'll be amongst some great esteemed colleagues and other companies that are growing. So there's a lot of space and opportunity to really think big. And like Councilman Knudsen said, putting your thumbprint and making whatever you dream up a reality here. And not only will you find the cooperation to do it, but we have the land and the space to do it as well. And we're looking to develop it. So yeah, I'll close with that.
Thank you, Jamie. Who wants to give the listeners one last chance to understand about the $10 million BioHealth Innovation Challenge and how they can learn more about it? What's the link to get to that?
It's biohealthinnovationchallenge.org. If you were to log in right now, it's going to tell you that you have 93 days. If you want a landscape of what Las Vegas is, feel free to email me or call me. There's lots of ways to connect in Las Vegas, and guaranteed your listeners have probably already been here a few times anyway.
I'm sure they have.
We're more than the Strip, and if you want to learn about how much more we are, biohealthinnovationchallenge.org is the place to learn.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Councilman Brian Knudsen, Jamie Schwartz, Director of Industry and Business Engagement at UNLV, and Vance Farrow, Healthcare Industry Specialist for the Nevada Governor's Office of Economic Development, for being on BioTalk today. And we look forward to following up and probably have another show once you announce a winner next year.
Can't wait.
Thanks for listening to BioTalk with Rich Bendis.